am going to go ahead and share my screen, I think. There we go. Pull this up and start from current slide. Okay, so day 4 of our 21-day challenge is here. And I hope everybody's having a good time and have had some realizations on what they're eating, how much they're putting into your body, and things along that. Why isn't this going down? There we go, do that. So this is some of the questions. I'm gonna pull all your guys' faces over here. So how many times were you tempted to eat this week? Did anybody count that? You know, a lot of times, yeah, you did. So sometimes you actually put, you know, I always do that. I walk by the refrigerator and go, huh, something looks good, but I go, no, boy, that's it. So, you know, you're supposed to be down to 3 keto-friendly meals a day so far. And then hopefully you all got your keto coffee or tea going. And there was some questions on that I'll go over near the end. And remember, you can always do an alternative to tea or coffee is, I mean, you could just take a couple tablespoons of coconut oil. You just want to get your oils in your body in the morning, and it's not considered a meal. I'll just address that question now. It's not considered a meal if when you get your keto meter, which I recommend you do get if you're really going to get serious on this. But the way you find out if your ketones are increasing, or if your keto coffee is a meal or not, is you take your ketone level half hour before your coffee. So you want to wait for about a half hour after you wake up. Test your your glucose. Drink your coffee. A half hour later, test it again. If your glucose goes up, then the combination in your coffee is acting like a meal. Ideally, you want it to stay the same or go down. I mean, within 5 points or something like that. And yeah, we'll show a video on how to use that. But that's the basic thing on the keto coffee is it's not a meal. It's not raising your glucose, so it's not raising your insulin. So, and then I'm wondering how well you all did on the 2-2-2 rule, the last 2 being the salt. Just start, you know, and this is a gradient. This is a little bit at a time you're learning how to do this. We're doing this in 21 days, and there'll be steps to do after that. But this is like boot camp, getting you started, getting you familiar with the terminology, and getting you to a point where you feel comfortable. And then for those of you that have changed your eating habits, did you feel better? Did you feel like you had more energy, less energy, about the same? And you don't have to answer these for us. I just want you to think about it. A lot of times when patients come into my office for something like headaches or low back pain, sometimes 2 or 3 weeks into it, they'll say, you know what? I don't have asthma anymore, or I don't have ringing in my ear anymore. And they never told me they had it in the first place, but they get so used to having a condition that when it goes away, it surprises you. So, you know, just pay attention to your energy and your sleep and anything else throughout the day, your mood, your anxiety level, whether you get more depressed or less depressed, because when you put oils in your body, they're helping to create the serotonin and dopamine neurotransmitters that you want, because they're made out of good, healthy oils. And then I want to make sure everybody did their BMI or came into the office and got one done with the body comp analysis test. It's a little more accurate. You got your photos and your weight. If you don't do your photos, you'll wish you did, because friends are going to say, and I know there's a lot of you on that could vouch for this, you look so different. What's going on? You look great. You look like you're glowing. Well, the inflammation's out of your body. Okay. So this keeps being in the way. There we go. So I just want you to, one thing that you will notice is it's a good idea to just kind of reassess your goals as you go, because a lot of times people start with, I just want to lose a few pounds. to all of a sudden they're going, you know what? I feel less depressed. My energy's higher. My brain fog's better. What else can I get out of this? So just be willing to have your goals change. Remember, boosting your immune system and hormone optimization is really what I consider two of the most important things for us to get handled for you. If any of you have missed any of the videos that we put out in between the Zoom meetings, they're all up on my YouTube channel. You should be able to view those anytime you want. And so we did, the first video was the difference between ketones and glucose. And then we did a real fun recipe. You remember what the recipe was? Yeah, it says it. Keto jicama chicken wraps. Oh, keto jicama chicken wraps. Man, that was amazing. If you don't get those jicamas wraps from Trader Joe's, that's the only place I know where to get them. They're amazing. They're these little thin jicama, and you make a regular type of taco out of it, but you're not getting anything bad. And it's kind of like eating one of those fresh spring rolls where they use the rice paper. You know, they're much better than the fried ones. Of course, we're not eating rice, but the jicama wraps are great. Day 3, we talked about, and we'll, yeah, net carbs, how to find out your net carbs. And then the recipe we did, what was it? Oh, rosemary lamb garlic with artichokes and garlic. Thank God I have somebody here thinking for me. So anyway, if you're missing any of these, they will all be up there at Dr. Duncan McCollum on YouTube under the 21-day challenge tab. So you can go watch them again. And not only are there's videos of me cooking them, but then they're all written out as well. So you can copy them down, and I'll have one probably every day. We've already got about 5 set aside, and a real special dessert coming up that you're going to love. And I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. All right, so we did go over how to find your net carbs, because we want you to be under 50 net carbs. So, and I'll just review it real quickly, but there's a whole video of it. You take total carbs and subtract dietary fiber, because your body can't absorb dietary fiber. It just goes right through you. So the amount of carbs that you are actually digesting is net 5. So any of these nutritional facts will have that on there. Also have your sugar and the amount of protein and all that stuff as well. So, so here we go. Tonight's talk, we're going to be focusing on Dr. Pompa's saying of fix the cell to get well. We're made up of 75 trillion cells. The only live part of us are our cells. And, you know, a bunch of cells decided to come together and make a liver or a kidney or a brain or a finger or, you know, an eyeball. And those cells all have, they need energy. They take in energy in the form of glucose or ketones. They burn the energy in this little thing called the mitochondria right here in the middle. The mitochondria is like the power plant. It's like the motor of your car. All these other things are like seats, fenders, heaters, air conditioners, windshield wipers. They all serve a purpose. And then in the nucleus is where all your genes are found. But the mitochondria burns fuel. So what goes wrong? What goes wrong that makes a cell become damaged? So if you look at the cell, it's like 2 layers of oils with a fluid, with a water base in the center. And these little things that you see between the blue dots are gates and channels that hormones attach to, vitamins, minerals, all kinds of things attach. And then this one is specific to only one vitamin or mineral. This one's specific to one hormone. And so as long as these are all open and working well, it's like a really good communication system on your cell phone. You get really good reception. There's little resistance in hormones. You don't need to boost a bunch of hormones or take a bunch of hormones to try to force them in the cell. And I'll go into that a little bit more in a second. So I'm going to step away, stop sharing my screen here, and I'm going to start drawing what the cell looks like, and just make sure I'm in the picture here, what goes on with the cell. Okay, you can see me? Okay, so this is, if you get this, you'll get everything. This is the most important night and the most important concept. Liz, if you could keep track of admitting people, that'd be great. So here's a cell. That's a human cell. You have 75 trillion of them. And in the center of the cell is that energy producing machine called the mitochondria. And the mitochondria burns two types of fuel. What are they? Glucose and ketones. Right now, our body's so used to burning glucose that it doesn't even know what a ketone is. It's like my cousin Vinny, exactly what is a grid, you know? So the body doesn't know what it is. Now, on the edge of the cells, I told you about these gates and channels. These are where hormones attach and vitamins and minerals. So when you put food in your gullet and it goes to your stomach, to your small intestine, and then your large intestine, it's being digested and broken down all the way, especially by the microbiome, our friendly bacteria that live in our digestive system that eat all our food for us, because we can't break down the food without it. Hey, Nats, can you come over here and admit people? I don't know what's going on. Liz isn't seeing it or something. Just want to make sure they come in. Just see when they pop up. Let's say admit it. So when you put food in, it breaks down, and then it comes out in the bloodstream, and it gets to the cell. And so let's say that glucose or ketones get in the cell. And then energy is made. Anytime you make energy, there's going to be exhaust, just like in your car. That exhaust has to get out of the cell. It gets absorbed into the bloodstream and taken to your liver. Your liver cleans everything. Dirty blood goes into the liver, and clean blood comes out and comes all the way around the body again. It dumps all of the junk into something called the gallbladder, and that gets into your large intestine and gets out. So food comes in from your large intestine, the toxins go out through your large intestine. It's a beautiful thing. One of the biggest problems we have is when our body, the liver stops cleansing well. So basically it's getting plugged like a vacuum cleaner filter, like the filter in your house, like an oil filter in your car. If you keep running your vacuum with the filter plugged, it's going to get hot and eventually blow up. Well, that's what's happening to the health of our country. Our livers are so toxic from things like glyphosate, which is Roundup, which we don't need to go into that right now, from drugs that we've taken throughout our life, from sugar that's destroyed our microbiome and given us an unhealthy microbiome, from the flours that we've eaten and the toxins in all of the flours, heavy metals that we've not only consumed ourselves, but that we've got 4 generations down through our mothers. I'm just going to move this. Okay. And so all of that stuff gets stuck in all of the tissue in our body, not just the liver. But when it gets so stuck, rather than getting clean blood, it becomes toxic because it can't clean the blood. It's like if I had a bucket of water and a sponge, and I kept washing the wall with that bucket of water, but I never changed the water, pretty soon the water is dirtier than the wall, and I'm going to be making dirtier and dirtier walls. But when your liver can't clean the blood because it's so tired and polluted itself, and maybe it's got some kind of disease now, then dirty blood gets circulated to your cells. And then just like poison oak, these walls become inflamed, just like your face would with poison oak, and your eyes are swollen shut. You still have eyes you can't see. So now these little cells, these little receptors don't work anymore. Usually a glucose comes along, insulin comes and opens the door to get glucose in. But now it's so swollen shut that one insulin won't do it. So now your pancreas is making as much insulin as it can. It's serving 50 or 75 trillion cells, remember. So your insulin's trying to make enough, your pancreas is trying to make enough insulin to push that glucose, basically force the glucose in so it can be burned into energy. And then the exhaust can't get out. So now the cells become toxic. When the cells become toxic, your mitochondrial walls become inflamed as well. Your energy goes down. And the biggest problem here of this whole thing is the nucleus, and I mentioned that before, is where all your genes live, in your DNA, your genes, chromosomes. So when you have a toxic environment in the cell, it gets into the nucleus and turns on bad genes. And that's where chronic disease comes from, or these genetic diseases. They don't just, we all have good and bad genes, just not all of us have them turn on and make us have a chronic disease the rest of our life. So I'm going to go back to share my screen here. And is that the next slide?
No.
Huh?
No.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, bear with me here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is a drawing that explains it. This is actually in my new book, Turn Back the Biological Clock. My son's friend, Jesse, drew all of these drawings in my book, which I think is pretty cool. But this shows a cell, shows the receptor sites. This is.
Hold on, they're not seeing the drawing.
They're not seeing the drawing? Okay.
Sorry, guys. 1 second.
Got to unshare and then share again.
Yeah, well, you had.
Stop sharing and then share again. And then that. Is that better? You guys see it now? Okay, good.
Yes.
So yeah, this is, thank you. So this is a cell, the cell wall, little gates and channels, the mitochondria, the power plant. Now below you can see this represents a dirty cell, toxic and a swollen cell wall. Bad genes get turned on because the receptors are plugged. Inflammation of the cell wall and mitochondrial wall are blocking cellular function. And then up here we have the good healthy ones. So now I'm going to go to the next slide, and I think I'm going to have to unshare and share again because I'm going to show you a short video. Oh, okay, so chronic inflammation, which is, we know chronic inflammation causes chronic disease. Chronic disease is caused by toxicity. So this is a vicious circle that goes around and around and around. Pretty much what Western medicine does is it handles chronic disease. It never handles the chronic inflammation. Well, maybe it does, but they never look upstream to the cause, which is toxicity. And I'll prove my point in just a second here. So I'm going to unshare and share again and show you a 3-minute video by Dr. Bruce Lipton, amazing individual. And this is going to explain what you need to understand here. So how do I do this, Nat? Bruce Lipton, I got it. You want to do it?
Yeah.
Intermission.
You still sharing the screen?
Yeah, no. There he is. Now we want to share it again.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. Great.
Double click it.
So, and I can make it large. Okay, so this is Bruce Lipton, and I'm starting right in the 2-minute mark.
Information processor. And what I ultimately realized in 1985 was that that processor had a very interesting and important definition. The definition of the membrane is it's a liquid crystal semiconductor with gates and channels. When I recognized his biochemical description in 1985, I was very much amused by it because I said, I've heard that exact same definition somewhere else and actually had to go search for where I heard it or found it. And what I saw was I read it in a book called Understanding Your Microprocessor, a simpleton book about how to use a computer. Basically, the definition, liquid crystal semiconductor with gates and channels, is the exact same definition of a computer chip. What this all led to was a very simple and yet very profound understanding. The cell is an information processor because the membrane reads the environment and adjusts the biology. The nucleus of the cell with its genes represents a hard disk, and the genes are programs. Our old belief system is that the nucleus and its programs were read-only memory, so that whatever the genes are, that would be our fate. However, the new insights offered revealed that the nucleus of the cell was not read-only, it was actually read-write. So basically, the cell was a programmable device. You put it into an environment, it would read the environment, and then adjust the expression of the genes to match the needs of that environment. So taking genetically identical cells and putting one set into a culture with certain environmental conditions cause a cell to program itself as a muscle cell, and a genetically identical cell put in yet another environment, reading the constituents of that environment would lead to the expression of a bone cell. So basically, the cells are programmable in response to environmental information. And one last piece, just to tie it together for all of us to understand, is that if you put a culture dish of cells into an adverse environment, then what would happen is that those cells would actually get sick and start to die. And if you take that very same culture dish and move it into a healthy environment, the same cells would immediately recover and start to proliferate, and the cultures will flourish. The relevance about all this is that we go back to the nature of a human being and recognize that containing 50 trillion cells, the human body is essentially a skin-covered petri dish. If you take your human petri dish body and put it into an adverse environment, it will cause the cells to get sick and to actually begin to die. And yet, if you take that same skin-covered body and put it into a healthy environment, the cells will rapidly recover and begin to flourish again. So the important reality is that our state of health or disease is really a reflection of the environment that we live in and the environment that we perceive.
Okay, now we've got to get out of that and back into the other one.
Sorry, guys. One sec.
Second intermission.
So we all have some behavior that we would like to change about ourselves.
Where'd you put it?
And we certainly all want to help someone else.
All right, you all there? Now I'm going to go back to my slideshow. So Bruce Lipton said just what I said. He's pretty smart. He took what I said and turned it into that beautiful piece of information. So I hope you guys get the idea that the cells those are stem cells he's talking about. You take a stem cell and you put it into an area where bones are needed to be made, it will become a bone cell. Take that same cell and put it into an area where you need a muscle will be made. The stem cell machine that I have at my office, which is a TRT, tissue regenerative technology machine, does exactly that. I wasn't going to talk about that, but since he brought that up, when we put that on an area of injury, your body's going to pull its own hidden stem cells that are in your long bone and take it to that area of injury, and those new stem cells can actually start to repair what you had there. So the other thing he said is, you take have it in a dirty environment, it's going to start to get sick, and that's where the bad genes get turned on inside the chromosomes and nucleuses. Once you take it and put it into a clean environment, it will start to repair. So your body can repair simply by getting the toxins out of there. Now, somebody asked about heavy metals and stuff. How do we get rid of those? I'll talk about that in a little bit. It's not something that's going to happen with an 11-day cleanse you get at, Staff of Life or something like that. It's a journey. We know that heavy metals come 4 generations through our mother, through umbilical blood. So it's a journey, but as long as we start moving in that right direction, we are going to improve our health. Let's see, how do I get this thing back to play current slide? There we go. Okay, so cleaning up your environment. starts with eating clean foods. And remember that, and you know, we've talked about the list. Hopefully you've all downloaded that list. You're not eating the inflammatory foods. You're hopefully getting organic foods. I'll talk more about that in a minute. But remember, ketones from oils and fat are clean burn like a gas, or burn clean like a gas stove. And then glucose, it comes from all carbohydrates, from a french fry to broccoli, to protein, which is animal protein and or plant protein, burn dirty like a smoky fireplace. And so intermittent fasting in the ketogenic diet, I got to keep moving, you guys. Intermittent fasting plus the ketogenic diet decreases toxicity, reducing inflammation, and turns off bad genes that's improving your health. So that's what all the science talks about. And the one thing I didn't put in this slideshow, but those little things called telomeres that dictate your age get lengthened with fasting. It's one of the only things that you can do to lengthen your telomeres. I'll talk about that later. All right. Keep having to move all your pictures so I can see this. So don't eat less often. This is kind of a tricky thing. People think that you have to eat less unless you're eating a bunch of bad junky food and, you know, eating snacks all the time. We just want you to reduce your eating window down to between 6 and 10 hours right now. So this next few days, rather than eating 3 keto-friendly meals a day, we want you to have your oils in the morning, whether it's in a keto coffee, tea, or just taking a tablespoon of whatever it is you want to take, whichever one of those. I think that olive oil, avocado oil, or coconut oil, or MCT oil, you don't have to, you can just do it in little bites, is good, or just put it in hot water and add some cinnamon to it, and butter, because butter is really good with cinnamon and hot water. And yeah, once you replace that breakfast with your keto coffee, that's not considered a meal, because insulin is not needed to burn ketones. It's only needed to burn glucose. So if you're not having any glucose in the morning, your body's not having to produce insulin. And some mistakes people make is they put collagen in their coffee in the morning, or different things, thinking it's a good way to get your collagen, but collagen is a protein. Protein burns as sugar. So during the exercise, I recommend that you not do that. When you get to your ideal health, you can change things around. But right now, getting down to 2 keto-friendly meals a day is our goal. And this is why. It doesn't do that. There we go. One of the things that we know is by getting down to 2 keto-friendly meals a day, you're freeing up your body, because 60% of the energy of your body goes to digest food. By skipping a meal, you're allowing your body to convert that energy to healing and repairing your digestive system, or your gut and other parts of your body. In another show, I'll show you what leaky gut looks like. Also, 70% of your serotonin receptors are found in your gut. And by healing your gut, which you'll do by not feeding it all the time and letting that energy, that 60% of the energy, instead of digesting food, heal your gut. By healing your gut, you're freeing those receptors, and it will reduce your anxiety and depression, as well as your gastrointestinal disturbances. So remember, serotonin it's a happy neurotransmitter. Dopamine is a pleasure neurotransmitter. So when you eat pizza, it releases dopamine. You feel good right then, but you're not happy later. You go, why did I do that again? So we're trying to get the serotonin receptors going, not necessarily the dopamine. So this also means that you need to clean up the environment around your house. Now, this is just an example of toxicity row, I call it. The FDA does not require any of these products to have their ingredients on them. And so, you know, you can have these hair products and skin products, and because they go, well, you're not consuming it, you don't absorb it. But we know that's not true, because now you can put, you know, an insulin patch on your skin and it will absorb insulin, and a lot of different things. So, you know, it's really important for you to start getting under your sink. Look in your medicine cabinet. I don't even know why we have a medicine cabinet. It should be an herb cabinet, but we don't even need herbs if our body's healthy. And start to get rid of the stuff that's just sitting there, like you have a can of Raid that's just sitting there, probably getting toxicity into your environment, or talcum powder that's, we know that's poisonous, and all these other things. So this is an example, 2 examples of taking a picture with something called the Think Dirty app. You can get this for free, and you just go to any of the products in your store, and you take the picture on your phone and you put it on that little description, like the barcode, and it will pull up. This is on the right or the left side is actually a hair product that women put in their hair. 5 of the products in that hair thing are 8 and 9 in toxicity. 1 to 3 is considered safe. 4 to 7 is relatively okay, but these other ones are toxins. They're toxins that you're not only putting them on your hair, you're probably breathing that stuff all day. It's laying on your neck, getting in through your neck. And then the other one over here is lipstick. It's actually lipstick. So it's got, some bad oils in it. So you just be aware that we're not being told what's in our environment. So if you really want to get healthy, you want to make sure that those genes are not being turned on because of the toxins. Not only do we have to detox and stop polluting our body, we have to heal what's been the damages caused to the detox organs and all of the cells, so that the hormones move in and out so well. So here we go. By doing the above, we will reduce toxicity, which reduces chronic inflammation, which reduces chronic disease. Now, this is one of those things that I'll put this in here in different orders again and again and again, because when I say, what causes chronic disease, you should go chronic inflammation. And I go, what causes chronic inflammation? Toxins. That's just the way it is. Dr. Lipton talked about it. We, in our Western medicine, we don't address the toxins. I have a friend that just was diagnosed with lupus, fibromyalgia. All of those different diseases are caused by upstream toxins that are causing the body to not function well. So you can treat them with steroids and anti-inflammatories and antibiotics and everything else, but until you're getting up to the top and getting that handled, and in that case, it might take a few years, but it's better than just covering up the symptoms as long as you can. One way I think of handling these kind of things, let's say that your body was a boat and your boat had a hole in it and it's leaking water, and we'll call that leak one of these fibromyalgias or, multiple, whatever these different diseases are. And you take a metal bucket and you start bailing the boat out. Well, as long as you bail the boat with that metal bucket and you keep the water level, safe enough, you won't sink. If you decide not to use that metal bucket and you get a gourd, then you start bailing with that gourd, you could still not sink. So the metal bucket is like a drug. The gourd is like an herb or a supplement. Neither one is handling the upstream problem of toxins. Now, you probably need to use that gourd or that metal bucket if you're that sick until we can clean the top. But Dr. Jason Fung said, basically the nephrologist who wrote the book on Complete Guide to Fasting, said if you give somebody a medication that doesn't cure them or kill them, how long would they have to take that medication? And how many medications would they have to be on? All right. So that's pretty much it for this evening. I'm going to go over what we want you to do, and I'm going to talk about a couple things coming up, some really important videos coming up. But just to recap, you're going to try to go down to 2 keto-friendly meals a day. If you can't do it, work your way into it. Stay away from the snacks, drink a lot of water, get your oils in. If you get hungry, you're not consuming enough oils. Now, some of you are going to break into ketosis relatively quickly. Others of you it's going to be harder, and there's several reasons why that might be. And again, the keto meter is something I highly recommend you get. You don't have to, but it makes this a lot more fun for the long haul. But if you're having a hard time getting into ketosis, And by the way you know you're in ketosis, you're not hungry. If you just find yourself not being hungry all day, your body's eating itself. It's eating the bad, it's making fuel out of some of the bad tissue. It's making fuel out of your own fat, and it's burning the oils that you took that day. But sometimes if your eating window is too short or too long, your body's going to think it's starving, and it will hold on to the fat, and it will start to burn muscle. So you don't want that to happen. If you're not getting enough oils, the same thing will happen. If you're eating too much or too little protein, the same thing will happen. If your body's toxic, definitely you'll have a hard time getting into ketosis, and you'll have a harder time losing weight. If you've got problems with the nerves going to your liver, kidney, gallbladder, all of those digestive organs in your body, and that they're only working at 50, 60, 70%, you're still going to have trouble. So remember at the beginning, I drew the triangle, health triangle, physical, chemical, and emotional. Well, we're really talking about the chemical side pretty dramatically here, but the physical side is really important because the nerves communicate. And then the bottom side is mental, emotional. And we talked about by healing your digestive system, by getting the inflammatory foods out of your gut, you're going to allow those serotonin receptors to work better. Serotonin receptors are also in your brain. When there's not inflammation around them, they're going to function well. And your body wants to be healthy and happy. You just have to get out of the way. So Yoshinori Asumi, he won the Nobel Prize in 2016 for physiology and medicine. And the word that he won this for is one that you are going to really want to know, and we're going to talk about it this week, is autophagy. So autophagy is autophagy, self-eating, or eating thyself. Tomorrow we'll do a video, we've already cut it, on autophagy in more detail so you can get it. But basically, in times of fasting, your body's going to be scavenging your body looking for fuel to burn because you're not giving it sugar, the easy, lazy way to burn fuel. So okay, thank you. My daughter came and helped me here again. It's awesome of her. So autophagy is defined, literally translated to eat thyself. By shortening your eating window, we are forcing our body into autophagy. This means your body is going to scavenge the weaker, dying, unhealthy, and mutated cells, and burn them for fuel. This is a good thing. So as we are not feeding our body, as we're shortening our eating window, your body's going to go around and find fuel somewhere else. Not only the cells, your human cells, which there are 75 trillion of, but the 100 trillion bacteria in your digestive system are subject to. So the lazy ones, your body's going to go and it's going to wipe them out. It's going to always go for the weakest, least healthy cells first, because bad cells can't adapt. That's one thing you want to think about. Bad cells can't adapt. So anytime we're in autophagy, when you're doing a 24-hour fast or even intermittent fasting, and if we get into a longer fast, your body's going after these damaging cells. And I might have already mentioned this. I mentioned this in the video for tomorrow, but Dr. Thomas Siegfried wrote the book, Cancer is a Metabolic Disease. And he's the leading authority really on cancer. And he said 1 5-day water fast a year will decrease your risk of cancer by 95%. That's a huge statement. And I had to buy a book for $150 to read that. It's about this thick. But you can get it. Thomas Siegfried, the guy's a very well-renowned guy. Why? Because your body's going to eat all the damaged cells. Bad cells can't adapt. Huh? And now Walter Longo is another guy that we're going to talk about. He works at USC, and he was just given $40 million by the CDC to study stem cell production, because he found out that stem cells are their highest during times of fasting, especially when you get up to a 72-hour fast. Your stem cells are at their highest level. I'll show a graph on that another day. And autophagy is at its highest. So basically, when we get your body healthy enough to fast. You can't just go into fasting if your gut's not working well, if you've been eating lousy food. And that's why if you're having these symptoms, we want you to, text us, or excuse me, email us at info@McCollum Family Chiropractic, kind of go into a holding pattern, McCollum Wellness, info@McCollum Wellness. And, we'll address it later. We're just doing a challenge for 21 days, but I want to teach you how to do this for the rest of your life if you want to use this method to get yourself healthy. So how to boost your immune system, that's one of the main things that I want to talk about here. And that's one of the most important things for us to concentrate right now. And so I'm going to just tell you this study that says studying finds that fasting can regenerate your entire immune system in 72 hours. Now that's a pretty outstanding statement. What they're talking about is your white blood cells are your immune system. They're floating around through your body, and they're handling all these disorders that come and go. And your white blood cells have a tendency to live a really long time. They can live for years. But and they have bad memories. In fact, a lot of autoimmune responses come from this, and a lot of allergic responses and histamine responses come because these white blood cells have a memory. It's like, you smell. I'll give you an example that I remember is when I was a kid, I drank a bunch of bourbon and got really sick on bourbon. Every time I smelled bourbon after that, I felt like giving it up again, right? So I can smell that bourbon and get sick. Well, these white blood cells get a hint of an allergen and they blow up and go into a huge hyperactive response, unnecessary, but it will cause an autoimmune response in your body. So these things can be part and parcel, a huge part of what's causing autoimmune response. All right, so that's about it for this evening. I just wanted to make a note for women. I wanted to talk to women about the fact that if you are whether you're menstruating, going through menopause, or your hormones may be fluctuating one way or another, there are different times that are better to fast than others. And if you're having any questions on that, just email info@mccollumwellness.com and just say, I'm interested. I'm going to put together a short extra video that we'll put out for you guys to watch. It will help you understand better how to do that. So I think I have a couple questions here I want to answer.
Yeah, in the chat.
Oh, and there's some in the chat. So here are some of the questions. Is keto coffee considered a meal? And when and how do I enjoy it? Well, I've answered that question. It's not considered a meal if you're only putting fat in it, which is whipping cream, butter, ghee, MCT oil, those kinds of things. But you can also get your Keto Mojo meter and test for sure. And we want to, if you want to find out, you really do need a meter of some kind. I just recommend that one because it's the best price and it's the most accurate. And it tests both ketones and glucose. Heavy metal toxicity, I did mention that, and I've mentioned it a few times. There will be a whole class on the hidden infections. So there'll be a Zoom class on the deadly trio, which are heavy metals, molds, and hidden infections. And also, if you're interested now, just go to McCollumWellness.com. There is a neurotoxic questionnaire on there if you want to fill it out and send it in if you have concerns for yourself, and I will go over that with you. I'll spend 15 minutes and just give you a complimentary consultation on that. Now, this is a really good question too. Before a workout, can I eat? Should I eat? Should I carb load? The answer is it kind of depends on what you're trying to achieve in your workout. A lot of people think that you need to eat and then work out, and they're trying to lose weight. Well, guess what? The whole time you're working out, you're burning the food that you put in your body, not your own fat. So if you're trying to lose weight, then it's not a good idea to eat right before you work out. Even somebody mentioned, I usually have a piece of toast before I work out. Well, that's sugar. You're just burning up your toast. You may not be accomplishing much, but burning up your toast. I'm sure that there's some good things happening, but ideally you want to be in ketosis over a period of time, and then work out, maybe drink water a half hour before you work out, but don't drink water during your workout or right after your workout, because when you're working out, you want your body to be eliminating the water, eliminating the toxins, and then give your body a chance to reset. You know, if you squish all that water out of your lymphatic system into your kidneys and your liver and the bloodstream, but then all of a sudden you saturate it with water again, you haven't given the body a chance to reset. So the general consensus is don't eat before you work out, don't drink water a half hour before or after you work out, and don't eat after you work out. Give yourself a little more time. Okay, I'm gonna go into the chat here now. I think I'm gonna stop sharing. Okay, let's see. There's quite a few here, so I'm gonna see what I can answer. Chat.
Trying the 222 question. Do you see that one?
Let's see. Thanks, Rick. What was that?
Trying the 2222 question. You see that one?
No, just tell me what it is. Wow. Somebody started the program with a 30-hour water fast. So is that Nancy Schmidt? Well, Nancy's a veteran. Good for you, Nancy. That's totally amazing. Let me just go through them. And, you know, that's awesome. And Nancy, you know, she's had some trouble at first getting into ketosis, but she's done this for almost 2 years. So she can just go right into a 30-hour water fast, get right into ketosis. That's ideally where we want to go, but we're not all going to get that. Okay, trying the 2222 question, taking 2 tablespoons in the coffee is only one of the 222, correct? Yeah, so this is something you're going to want to do throughout the day. Again, you can, if you have a sweet potato, or maybe you have broccoli and you put a bunch of butter on your broccoli, you know, put a tablespoon of big chunk of butter on there. If you're having a salad, use coconut oil or avocado oil or olive oil. So just think throughout the day, anytime you have food, if you have a smoothie, put some, you know, some of that in there. So yeah, you got to start working that in. But one patient tried to take all 6 tablespoons in the morning one time and came back to the class and said, gee, you know, I got kind of sick. I go, yeah, I'm sorry I didn't mention that. So thanks for asking. Can I drink the 222 more than, yeah, more oils are better. The more oils, I mean, that's the minimum. The more oils you take, the better, because your cell wall, 30% of your cell wall is made up of those heavy, or those types of oils. So, and since our cells are constantly regenerating, we're trying to get into autophagy and then kill all those bad cells. As we're recycling and making new stem cells, then we want to make sure they have the right building blocks. They want to have the right oils and everything. Any other questions here?
2 things. Can you talk about salt? I think it's salt in the diet.
Yeah, so salt in the diet. Again, not table salt, but Himalayan sea salt, or there's a couple other Cassian sea salts and the Black Sea salts and all these things. In fact, one of my friends, a doctor, he goes to a restaurant when you could go to a restaurant, and he has this leather folded case, like a cigar case, and he opens up and he has 3 or 4 canisters of different salts. One's the Cassian Sea, one's Himalayan, and one's the Black Sea. And, you know, he's a connoisseur of salts. But the point is that you want to be getting, especially when you're getting into the fasting, make sure you're getting salts. Take minerals if you have some good minerals to take, because your body is going to be losing some minerals. And when your body doesn't have, here's the trick. This is really forget everything I said. It's not as important as this. If your body doesn't have enough minerals, it's going to find it in your body. It's not in your fat. It's in your muscles and your bone. So I used to think, well, I don't really want to take the salt. I don't think I need it. I found out that I was doing something called gluconeogenesis, which means new glucose being formed. My muscle was being broken down to get some sugar out of it, glucose, because protein burns as glucose, and to get the minerals out of it. So it's really important to get those minerals in.
And then the name of the name of Thomas Siegfried's book.
It's Thomas Siegfried, and it's cancer is a metabolic disease. And I have it at my office if I can take a picture of it and send it in. Neurotoxic questionnaire you can find on the site. Any other questions here? Do you guys see? avocado salsa. Yeah, so please, I mean, please watch the videos. They're really fun. And the foods that we're putting out is really great. And we've got some really good videos coming up the next few days. And if you have any questions, you know, please email them in ahead of time. It makes it a lot easier for this. And next week, next Monday, we're going to dive into one of two subjects. I'll let you know what it is. It might be the three hidden deadly guys, you know, the heavy metals, molds, and hidden infections, how to get rid of those. But it will be fun, whatever we do. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. Appreciate you all being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you,
See you
Duncan.
next week.
Thanks, Duncan.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.